Hola. In this video, I'm going to talk about conjugation in Spanish of the preterit or past tense for regular verbs. And in Spanish, we call this el pretérito. So first, let's go over what we're going to talk about in the video. The first part is just explaining what the past tense is, or what the preterit tense is. And then we'll talk about what are the steps, how do you conjugate the verbs. Then we'll talk about the endings, which you'll just have to memorize in order to be able to conjugate verbs in the past tense. And finally, we'll do a little bit of practice to see if you understand what we talk about in the video. So first, what is the past tense? The past tense is used to talk about any action that happened before right now. So if something happened yesterday, that would be the past tense. So down here I have several different words and phrases in English so that we can separate just to get an idea of what is the present tense that you probably would have learned in Spanish 1 and what is the past tense, the new conjugation that we're talking about now. So today would belong in the present tense column because it's happening today, it's happening now. Usually also goes in the present tense because any action that happens over and over again or repeatedly is conjugated with the present tense. Yesterday, however, is something that happened before right now, so it goes in the past tense, along with last week. The phrase she walks is in the present tense. It's just a general description of what usually happens or what is happening now. I ran, though, belongs in the past tense because you could say I ran yesterday. I run is in the present tense, just generally I run or I run now. You swam is past tense. They swim is present tense. And she walked is past tense. A lot of times in English we use this ed at the end of words to represent the past tense, although there are some irregulars such as ran and swam. But a lot of times if you have a word that ends in ed in English, it means that we're going to be using the past tense. So here are the steps that you actually follow to conjugate verbs in the preterit tense, and they are the same steps as you would do for the present tense. So the first thing is we start with our infinitive, and I know that right here, hablar, which means to speak, is an infinitive because it ends in the letters AR. If it ended in ER or IR, those would also be infinitives, although sometimes they end in se or le. So what we do with our infinitive, the word that ends in AR or ER or IR, is we count 2 letters from the back, 1, 2, and those 2 letters we take off. And what's left is what's known as the stem, habl. So that habl is going to be reused when we conjugate the verb in the preterite tense. So to say I spoke in the past tense, we say yo using the stem, and then we add the conjugation and the ending for the yo form of AR verbs in the preterite, which is E with an accent, A, to form hable. So let's take a look at what all of those endings are. If we're looking at AR verbs, for example, hablar, AR verb meaning that it ends in the letters AR. Here are the endings. Again, we always use the stem, so the remaining letters after that is habl. In the yo form, it's yo hablé, I spoke. The to form is tu, hablaste, you spoke. The el form is él habló. Ella is the same, ella habló, usted habló. So he spoke, she spoke, or you formal spoke. Nosotros hablamos, we spoke. Vosotros hablasteis, y'all spoke, and that's the form that's used for you guys in Spain. And then ellos hablaron, to mean they, a group of guys or a mixed group, spoke. Or ellas hablaron, a group of girls spoke. Or ustedes, you guys, spoke. Now taking a look at the ER and IR verbs, In the preterite tense, they share the same endings. So verbs that end in the letters ER, for example, comer, to eat, and verbs that end in IR, for example, escribir, to write, they have the same conjugations. So let's take a look at comer. Again, we use, after we take off the last two letters, we're left with the stem com, so we have yo, com, I ate, tu, com, iste, you ate, él, com, yo, he ate, ella comió, she ate, usted comió, you, formal, ate, nosotros comimos, we ate, vosotros comisteis, y'all ate, ellos comieron. They, a group of guys or a mixed group, ate. Ellas comieron, a group of girls, ate. Or ustedes comieron, you guys ate. And like I said, IR verbs have the same conjugation. So if we conjugate escribir, for the yo form, it becomes yo escribí. Just like we had yo comí, the ending being I with an accent, we have yo escribí, I with an accent is our ending. And I went ahead and put the rest of the conjugations for escribir. We have tú escribiste, you wrote. Él escribió, he wrote. Ella escribió, she wrote. Usted escribió, you formal wrote. Nosotros escribimos, we wrote. Vosotros escribisteis, y'all wrote. Ellos escribieron, they wrote, either guys or a mixed group. Ellas escribieron, she or a group of girls wrote, and ustedes escribieron, you guys wrote. And in this view, you can see the comparison of the AR and ER and IR endings in the preterite tense. And you'll notice if you look at the letters in blue that they are the same from the AR and the ER and IR verbs. So for example, we have tú hablaste for the AR verbs and tú comiste, tú escribiste for ER and IR verbs. And even in the elea form, they share the same ending, although in the ER and IR verbs, we have this extra I located there before, comió, escribió. But the nosotros form shares a mos, vosotros shares a stes, and the third person plural or the ustedes form share ron at the end of it. So there are some similarities. The other thing to note is something that's a common mistake is looking at this O with an accent and thinking that that is the yo form. Because now that we're in the past tense, the yo form conjugation is actually E with an accent, hablé for AR verbs, or I with an accent, and for an example, comí, escribí for ER and IR verbs. This O, now with an accent, actually belongs to the él, ella, usted form. That's different from the present tense. And now let's try to conjugate some verbs. So take a moment to conjugate these verbs, maybe press pause so that you can work on these for a little bit, and then we'll reveal the answers. What you do is you conjugate the verbs in parentheses for the subject that is right before it. Okay, so let's take a look at the answers for our practice problems. For number 1, we have the verb hablar. And remember, the steps are that we count 1, 2 letters from the end, eliminate those letters, copy the stem, remember that it is an AR verb, so we use the AR endings for the to form, which gives us hablaste. Moving on to number 2, count 1, 2 from the end, eliminate, copy the remaining stem, remember it's an IR verb, use the to form, viviste. Number 3, count 1, 2 from the end. Eliminate those letters. Copy the stem. Remember that it's an AR verb. Use the AR ending for ellos, which gives us nadaron. Number 4, we have comer. Count 1, 2 letters from the end. Eliminate. Copy the stem. Remember that it's an ER verb with the nosotros ending for ER verbs, which is imos, making comimos. And finally, number 5, count 1, 2 from the end, eliminate, copy the stem, and then remembering that it's an IR verb, use the ella ending for IR verbs, which gives us escribió. We have tú hablaste, you spoke. Tú viviste, you lived. Ellos nadaron, they swam. Nosotros comimos, we ate. And ella escribió, she wrote. Gracias por mirar. If you have any sections you were a little confused about, feel free to rewind, watch again.